Thank you for joining us today. I want to give a big thank you to Gabriella, who is our captioner for today and is going to be captioning the webinar. Today is Disability Pride and Culture webinar series, and it's hosted by the DOnetwork and Yo Disabled and Proud. And we're very happy to be hosting some folks from San Francisco State University's Paul K. Longmore Institute on Disability. And here on this opening slide here, we have an image which is the poster for Superfest, the International Disability Film Festival. And there's an image that's kind of like the Oscar, except that the face is doing that expression like the screen does, because it's an invitation to the Dissies, which they're going to tell us all about, and I'm very excited to hear about today. So let's just take a look at our agenda today. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to meet our presenters, and then a little bit of information about the Disability Pride and Culture webinar series. And then we're going to meet our hosts. So we'll hear a little bit about the Disability Organizing Network, what we fondly call the DOnetwork, and Yo, Youth Organized, Disabled, and Proud. And then we'll have our main presentation, Disability on the Big Screen. Of course, there will be some question time, and then we'll have a few things at the end in the closing. So a little bit about our presenters today. My name is Ted Jackson. I will be your facilitator for today. I'm the statewide organizer for the DOnetwork here at California Foundation for Independent Living Centers. And then we also have Mohammed Rashid joining us, who's one of the Yo Volunteer Corps, and he's stationed out at Disability Resource Agency for Independent Living, what we commonly call DRAIL in Modesto. Good morning, Mohammed. How are you doing? Good. I'm glad that you could join us today.
Thank you
Great.
for letting me go.
And then our presenters from the San Francisco State University Paul K. Longmore Institute on Disability in San Francisco State University, as I said. Let me just say really quickly that I did forget that there are pictures of both Mohammed and I by our names on this slide. And these slides at the top do have the logo of the Disability Organizing Network and Yo Disabled and Proud. So our first presenter is Kathy J. Kudlick. There's a photo of Kathy there on the slide, and she's the director of the Longmore Institute. And then we have Emily Beitiks, the assistant director. We also have a photo of Emily on there. Good morning, Kathy and Emily.
Good morning. Good morning.
We're so happy that you could join us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us and letting us share about Superfest and what we're doing here at the Longmore Institute. We really appreciate the opportunity. Great.
So Dialogues in Disability Pride and Culture webinar series is a webinar series of the DOnetwork, and we're so happy that Yo was able to join us in hosting this webinar today. And this series focuses on exploring disability identity, pride, and culture in order to inspire and motivate emerging leaders. We will invite speakers to discuss their personal journey to disability identity and how their experiences relate to current issues and campaigns, as well as the larger disability rights movement. So it's just really, really important stuff about knowing where we came from so that we can know where we're going. In the Disability Organizing Network, commonly called the DONet or the DOnetwork, and our logo is on this slide, we can be found at disabilityorganizing.net, where there's all sorts of online resources like news alerts. We have a page on the disability vote, as well as signing up for trainings and events. And this network is a statewide community organizing program to create change and to build accessible communities where we live, shop, work, learn, and play. And we have our Access Now summits and campaigns as well. The Access Now program, as part of this network, is really kind of the heart and soul of it. It's a program where we do summits every year where community members can voice their priorities and help us build our campaigns and our priorities for advocacy and community organizing. And some of those campaigns are listed here on this slide. Right now we have some statewide campaigns that we're gearing up for next year on getting out the disability vote. We did a lot of voter education work last year, and we're excited about doing it again next year. We also work a lot on the Fair Education Act with Yo, Disabled and Proud, and our community partners. And we have a statewide reactive campaign for healthcare going on right now, really making sure that a lot of the changes in healthcare, like with Covered California, are accessible for people with disabilities. And then regionally, our Access Now campaigns cover issues like healthcare, transportation, and access in communities, really going along with that theme of building accessible communities. And now Mohammed's going to tell us a little bit about Yo, Disabled and Proud. So Mohammed, take it away.
My name is Mohammed Rashid. I'm a member of Yo, Disabled and Proud Youth Advisory Council. I'm from Modesto, CA, California. Yo, Disabled and Proud started in 2009, and our focus is on organizing, educating, and connecting youth with disabilities and our allies across the state. There are many ways to get involved in Yo. The easiest way is to become a member on the Yo website. We also encourage everyone who is interested to like us on Facebook or to follow us on Twitter, or Instagram. If you are a youth with a disability or know a youth with a disability between the ages of 16 and 28 of age, encourage them to join us. We have a community organizing campaigns that we work on. Our current campaigns are focused on implementing Disability History Week in all California schools, and bullying prevention, getting accommodations in school, and ensuring that the Fair Education Act is being implemented. We host periodic events for a variety of disability occasions, like Ed Roberts Day and Americans with Disabilities Act anniversary parties. Next year we will be organizing a 5-year Yo anniversary party that we are very excited about. Yo has a volunteer corps that we call Yo Corps. We give youth with disabilities the opportunity to do service work at their local independent living centers and gain job experience that will assist them in getting a job after they graduate from school. Volunteers serve for 1 year and receive a small monthly stipend of all our program activities allow youth with disabilities like me to gain and use our leadership in a positive way that promotes our disability pride motto. We have a variety of great up-to-date resources on our website, and we encourage all of you to check it out after today's webinar on Dissies, the Dissies.
Thanks, Mohammed. And here we've got a flyer from the Own My Power Freedom from Bullying Day, which is an event coming up for Yo Disabled and Proud. Mohammed, do you want to tell us a little bit about this event?
Oh, about we have an event called the Day of Respect coming up on October 12th in Berkeley, and then 2 other days that we have, but I'm not sure what
they're
days
October 5th in Sacramento and October 19th in Downey, California.
Okay. We will be getting together and celebrate.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, for telling us about Yo Disabled and Proud. And now we're going to move on to the main part of our presentation today, Superfest the Dissies. And so I'm going to hand everything off to Kathy and to Emily.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Kudlick, and I'm Emily Beitiks. And we're really excited about hosting this wonderful first-of-its-kind event. The idea is just to get people to really think about disability in new ways, kind of like in line with the seminar today, the webinar today. I'll just say a few words about the Longmore Institute on disability. Paul Longmore, some of you may have heard of or read some of his works. He was a professor at San Francisco State University for about more than a decade. He was a historian and an activist, and he had a disability due to getting polio as a child. And he was snarky and funny and irreverent and really incisive and smart. And everybody loved him. You know, and were kind of motivated by him a lot. And he passed away unexpectedly about 3 years ago. And so they decided to honor his memory by pouring more resources and attention into this Institute on Disability that he had started. And that's when they brought me on board. I was a professor at UC Davis for a number of years, and but really interested in doing more community outreach. And then I hired Emily Beitiks, who's our assistant director, who you can introduce yourself a little bit if you want.
Sure. I have been interested in disability studies and disability for a long time, starting as an undergrad at UC Davis. And I went on to get my PhD focused on disability studies and came back to the Bay Area. I was working in nonprofit and then had this amazing opportunity to work here, and I've been here since the start of the Institute also. The Elevated Institute. So we've both been up and running for a little over a year now, and have tons of stuff in the works and lots of projects we're really excited about, but everything's new to us, so we're also learning a ton, and things are moving.
And the tricky part for us is to get people excited about these new ideas and new attitudes and to follow us in our projects and all that. But we've got to do the work of getting the projects up. So it's an interesting balance. It's not just teaching. It's not just academic at all. It's really bringing in various community partners and modeling what, you know, sort of ways of doing things that are creative and interesting and exciting, but also acknowledging some of the real challenges for our community, for our institute, for everybody. So
there's a slide up right now that kind of summarizes what we do. It says, part think tank, part cultural center, the Paul K. Longmore Institute on Disability introduces new ideas about disability and disabled people. We're beginning a series of exciting projects at the intersection of disability history, the arts, education, and policy that will pair San Francisco State students and faculty with various local communities. So we're doing a lot on campus to try and get people thinking about disability studies and also pair San Francisco State resources to work with wider disability communities in the Bay Area and beyond in our various projects. And one of the biggest projects that we've taken on is co-hosting Superfest with the Lighthouse for the Blind.
One of the sort of inspirations for taking this over, I grew up with a vision impairment and experienced a lot of kind of shame and doubt and all that when I was watching movies when I grew up, especially when the blind characters show up or the, you know, on TV, like Mr. Magoo, all that. Oh, it's just awful. And I was talking with what now is our co-host, our organizer, Brian Bashan, who's a blind man who directs the San Francisco Lighthouse for the Blind, and we were just kind of commiserating about these images. And then somebody approached us about Superfest about a year and it was about a year ago, and they said, you know, the people that have been running it for years and years, Leanne Yamamoto and Barbara Duncan approached us and said, you know, we've been running this film festival for a while, and we're just ready to sort of pass it on to somebody else to experiment with new things to do. We want to move on with our lives, and we would be really excited to think about Superfest taking on a different life and a different personality. They've been running it for about 15 years in a, you know, kind of in a really engaged, low-key, volunteer way. And Brian and I started talking about, you know, well, what would it be like to have two visually impaired people run a film festival, because film is all about vision and visual media and all that stuff. And we thought, cool, why not? Let's do something, you know, that shakes up the world of filmmaking, of film going, of all of that, and not just for this one event, but for, you know, just thinking about film generally. Film is not just a visual medium. There's lots of other stuff going on. There's sound. There's kind of the stories that are being conveyed, and what happens when you think consciously about conveying a story, not just through visual imagery, but also relying on these other things and not just automatically falling back on the easy sense in a way. And that's not to say we're denying the visualness. I'm a kind of in-betweener in terms of my vision. I see a lot. My vision isn't reliable, but I make up a lot of stories and enjoy what it is that I am seeing. But I also understand there's other ways to approach all of this stuff non-visually. So this got us started in a series of conversations with Leanne Yamamoto and Yasumoto and Barbara Duncan, and we started thinking about, well, what would it be like to pass the torch? And we needed some time to not just launch a full-fledged disability film festival, but to actually buy ourselves some time to kind of get our system in place, get our organization in place, get our partnership in place. And so we came up with the idea. I remember we were sitting at the Ed Roberts campus over there, and Brian said, we were talking about bad disability movies and bad portrayals. So we said, you know, hey, why not have something that talks about the bad side of these films, and not just, you know, kind of celebrate the good, but to really embrace what's a problem and run with it and show it in this way that's organic to our community, that's grassroots and all of that, and not to dwell on the negative, but to own it, to sort of have it be us and have it on our terms, and to, you know, kind of really, you know, kind of almost like judo, to embrace something that's negative and turn that negativity into a positive force.
So that's this year's event. It is part of Superfest, the International Disability Film Festival, but we're not having a full juried festival this year. We're having this one-night event, October 12th, beginning at 7 p.m., doors open at 6. And it's a take on the Razzies, if people know the Razzies, which is something they do every year down in Hollywood, where they give mock Raspberry Awards to the worst of the worst. We're going to give our Dissies Awards to the worst of the worst, because, you know, as Kathy was saying, there's such a history of really bad representations that just fall into these similar categories. And so we have 7 categories. Worst portrayal of a disability by a non-disabled actor, so sweet that they're not. The most amazing miracle, the most tragic, the worst disabled villain, Crips gone wild and ruining everything, and hey, only we can laugh at that. So when we gather together, we'll watch clips from each of these categories, 2 to 4 minute clips of each of the films that were nominated from the community. We used social media and spread the word and got a lot of nominations. We'll watch clips and then we'll have live on the spot voting, so that we'll say, you know, okay, if you vote for clip number 1, shake your body, make as much noise as you can, express yourself in whatever way you can, and our team of judges will decide which one receives the most hate, and then we'll award a Dissie award on the spot to that winner. And because, you know, the winners will not be accepting the awards in person, we've asked several people from throughout the community to give their best mock acceptance award speech as well, and accept it on behalf of these films. And so it's all about trying to create a sort of almost Rocky Horror Picture-esque atmosphere. We really want people to have fun while watching these very upsetting and troubling clips, in order to just take all the sting out of them, make it powerful by claiming them. So yeah.
The other thing, we have Lawrence Carter Long, who will be acting as the Master of Ceremonies. For those of you that followed about a year ago, the Turner Classic Movies ran a series on disability in history and films, and he's a leading kind of disability community person in films and all that. He was on national TV, as I said, and he'll be bringing a tone of irreverence and fun to what we're doing. So the whole mood we want is, you know, to create a sense of camaraderie and shared, you know, kind of ownership of this, and to have some fun, to laugh, to get that energy out, and just say, ah, you know, it's so great to be around other people that find these images so awful, and the idea is to have fun, and that's the spirit we're doing in. And the other thing to know is we're trying to model multiple forms of access. So the films will of course be captioned. They will be audio described with the various scenes that we'll be showing. We'll also, what else are we doing for access?
We are doing everything we can think of or that we've learned, although I'll say right now that we will want to hear from people if there are ways that the festival does not end up being accessible, so that we can learn for next year. But we've got a team of folks trying to make it as accessible and inclusive as possible. So we look forward to hearing how that goes. The audio description, I'll just say, for people who are not blind or visually impaired themselves and may be new to hearing audio description, it's a really interesting experience, and that's part of what we want the film festival to do, is sort of change the way you think about watching a film, because it will have it broadcasted for everyone to hear, not just people using assisted listening devices. And it really is interesting. It can really add an additional element to the experience of viewing a film that we hope that people will enjoy. There will be ASL captioning as well, or ASL signers, and there will be captioning. Not just captioning in the films, but CART will be provided for all the dialogue that happens in between. And so that's basically our bit. What we would love is to hear questions from Ted, and then questions from everybody else, because we're happy to answer more about, you know, why we think this is a worthwhile event and what went into it, and what we have.
I can really hear the excitement in your voice as you talk about this, so I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The first question I have for you is a little bit about the Paul K. Longmore Institute, and many of us can see the two of you in your office there on the webinar system in a little video chat thing. And on the wall behind you, is that the quilt? And do you want to tell us about the quilt and how it began and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
That wasn't intentional that we did that. We kind of got, it's interesting. So the quilt came about because, as some of you may know, Paul Longmore was an avid collector of T-shirts. He had more than 70 or so. Yeah. And we know because they're in one of our cupboards. But he had disability T-shirts of every stripe, from every event, from the ones that were made with these funny slogans, like I can't right now. I'm blanking on
severely normal.
Severely normal.
The Venetian Blind Society. They're like gondola pushers, and they are all blind.
And they're all wearing sunglasses and have little,
Or why be normal?
Why be normal? So he was really an avid collector of these T-shirts. So there were events, there were political statements, there were other things, and we decided that, in inheriting, we inherited all of his stuff in terms of his scholarly stuff and things he collected related to the disability community. So we decided that one way, in addition to photographing the entire collection, which you can view
Longmore Institute.sfsu.edu.
That's our website. We decided to honor it by having someone make a quilt that would, kind of honor Paul. So we took some of these T-shirts, a few of them, and put them into the quilt. And that's part of the excitement around all of this.
And the T-shirts also kind of, they really get at what the Longmore Institute is trying to do, because so many of them were these sort of witty phrases or funny sort of ways of turning disability around, pushing people to think about it in new ways, and that really fits with our mission statement, where we're just trying to get in people's heads. Kathy, do you want to do your pirate?
Oh yes.
Kathy, this is one of the ways that we begin talking about what we do at the Longmore Institute to people who maybe, yes, those are in front of the camera, although I can do a close-up shot.
Yeah, here. So I asked people.
We're holding up a little plastic pirate, and go ahead.
And so more detail in so I always ask people, well, what is this? I hold it up, and people with disabilities, people without disabilities, anybody that comes to visit, or I carry around a couple in my backpack. I cleaned up the local toy store of all their little pirate figures. I got to go back and get some more. But anyway, I ask people, like, what is this? So when you look at it, there's a pirate there. There's with a hooked arm and a patch over his eye. There's
peg leg,
and people said, well, the pirates, sure.
Which
is right, yeah. And I said, but they're also disability action figures, and nobody ever thinks about disability having an action figure that's not like some superhero or whatever. But people have grown up with images of pirates absolutely everywhere. They're just constant, and to see that as a powerful sort of force. They're not like all goody and cuddly and feel good, but they're active. They're forceful. They have a primary place in our culture. And so one of the things that we're doing with the T-shirts, with the quilts, with all the stuff that our events and all of that is to empower people with disabilities by making people say, whoa, I never thought of that. And I honestly believe that if I could make each person, at least make one person a day or two people a day say, whoa, I never thought of that. I've done my job. I really, and preferably more people every day. But I feel satisfied that I can sort of make people to flip their thinking, to flip their attitudes by saying, whoa, that's figure there.
It's great to hear all of this stuff because, as we're probably going to jump into some more specific questions here about Superfest and the film festival and the Dissies and stuff like that, I think it's really cool to hear about the work that you all are doing there at the Longmore Institute and the fun that you're having with it, and the whole action figure thing and everything. I think it's wonderful. And, when you talk about Paul Longmore, I'm coming up on my second anniversary working in the disability community, so I never got to know him. I never got to meet him. But it seems like there was a sense of fun about him. And, Christina from Sacramento has a question for us. Who was Paul K. Longmore, and why is there an institute named after him? So can you tell us a little bit about that and a little bit about Paul?
So Paul was he had polio as a child, and basically weathered a very difficult, not difficult in terms of family or any of that stuff, but just difficult in terms of social attitudes. A difficult period where most of his teachers and a lot of his professors said, well, you're basically a cripple and you're not going to be able to go to, go much beyond college. And he kept being excited by history and wanting to learn more. So he applied to graduate school after earning an undergraduate degree. He got into the Claremont Graduate School in history and earned a doctorate there. And all along, at every step of the way, he had people that were believing in him and said, yes, you're doing great stuff, but on the other hand, you might not get a job. So, you should, we're going to save our fellowship money for people that really can get jobs and need it. And so he was denied fellowships, but he just kept pushing. He eventually he did his dissertation research on. He wrote a book called The Invention of George Washington, which was a biography of George Washington and how George Washington fashioned himself as a figure in American history. And some of us are arguing that Paul actually used his attitudes and his ideas around disability to think about this American figure, this leading figure of American history in different ways, even though George Washington himself never was identifying as a person with a disability. He nonetheless, relied on similar strategies to present himself to a public that might have been skeptical or had been worried about, his initial kind of capacity and stuff. So Paul wrote about that stuff. He got the book published with a very prestigious academic press, University of California Press, and immediately ran into trouble with the American sort of services sector, who, Social Security and whatnot, and said, well, we can't. You can't collect royalties on this book that you wrote about George Washington because that will make you ineligible for your other services that you need to function in daily life. They basically just said, you have to kind of choose between those. And Paul thought this was outrageous. One, because the royalties on scholarly books aren't that great anyway. But two, why be forced to choose those things? Why is it that somebody with a disability can't be allowed to put themselves out there, display their creativity, their talents, secure a publishing contract, all of those things? Why can't they be allowed to earn royalties on this? And so, to make his point, he went in front of the big Social Security building in Los Angeles where he was living at the time. He wheeled out a barbecue grill, set it up, staged it all, put his George Washington book that had just been published in the grill and set it on fire and said, I cannot collect royalties and so I must burn my book. And it created a lot of attention in the press. This was just prior to the Americans with Disabilities Act. And to make a long sort of story short, he eventually got the Social Security Administration through lobbying and other sort of forces to change that law so that people can earn royalties thanks to their efforts. People with disabilities can't earn those royalties. There's still some battles ahead. You're not allowed to collect fellowships, which is why Paul had to always give back any fellowships that he earned, any kind of honors that he got. He taught at Stanford University for a few years as a visiting professor, and then was named professor of history at San Francisco State University about 10, 15 years ago. And then he launched this, what he called the Institute on Disability, that was doing a lot of work around activism and policy and other things, but it was a one-man show. He did all the work himself, and he had a lot of teaching responsibilities and other stuff, so he never quite got to do all the things that he realized with the Institute. So when he did pass away unexpectedly in 2010, in the summer, they decided to honor his memory. They named the institute after him and said, let's go for it. Let's try to realize what Paul set out to do. And so that's
great.
Really
and I'm thinking about, the impetus that got him started with, royalties and things like that, and how much that ties into, for example, actors. In the DOnetwork, we have 2 of our advocates in the network who are professional actors as well. And so I think there's a good segue here back into the film festival. The first category you have here is worst portrayal of a disability by a non-disabled actor. And that's always, every time I go to Southern California to visit our systems change advocates who are really the part of the heart and soul of the support for the community in the DOnetwork. The 2 of them that are actors are always talking about, I went to this audition and it's to play someone with my disability, and they might give it to a non-disabled actor. So can you give us a clue to what movies are in the running or roles are in the running for that category? Who's on that ballot?
Do we want to say, or do we want to make people come to the Dissies?
I think you have to wait.
But I can tell you some films that we were tempted by, but that we did not go with because they didn't do as good of a 2-minute clip. So one is an example of this type of category was Bjork from Dancer in the Dark. So she is playing somebody who's blind but is trying to hide her vision impairment from all the people around her. She doesn't want anybody to know. And there's a scene where she's in a very small trailer and she's sitting in the kitchen and her neighbor sneaks in to the trailer to steal the money. And she's probably standing a foot away from him. And she's supposed to have a degenerative eye condition where she can still partially see, but she says, Bill, are you there? And then she doesn't know he's there. So this is an example of a really off portrayal of disability. I mean, anybody, sighted or blind, most likely can tell when somebody's a foot away from them, regardless of vision. In a trailer that's incredibly packed in, you're going to hear somebody breathing, you're going to hear the door open.
Move.
He's standing there holding his breath for too long. So that's kind of a classic example. We didn't have any, but it's the the person who's walking with their hands out instead of using a cane or having a different way of walking. It's the the person who's using a wheelchair, and even though it's a wheelchair that should be pushed by themselves, and every other part of their character suggests that they could be pushed by themselves, they're having somebody else push it. That's the kind of thinking that went into that category. But we're going to avoid telling any of the specific nominees until October 12th. There's extra motivation that you have to come. And if you can't come, we'll announce
the winners. You won't have to wait long.
I'm so excited because I'll actually be in the Bay Area for the Own My Power event at the Ed Roberts campus at Berkeley that day, and then I get to go to the Dissies that night. So, in the disability world, in the world of cultural competency, we hear a lot about the 3-headed monster. The pity model, the charity model, and the medical model. We're totally against what we are about in independent living, which is, the social model and the model of being present and independent in the community. So can you tell us, do any of these topics play into any of those heads of the 3-headed monster, and which ones do, and can you give us an example of something that didn't make the cut again for each one of those?
Yeah, so absolutely, that they're kind of all throughout. So sweet that they're not is an example of the sort of pity model. They're all clips that involve sort of an able-bodied child who's the perfect little child and who's generously, part of their perfection is their kindness for disability or disabled people, or it's different in various clips. But that one really fits into the pitying, but you see pity in other clips too. The most tragic has a lot of overlap with some of the medical model stuff. People who are recently disabled in the hospital asking to die because their life is so horrible now that they have a disability. What else? The charity model is a big one, but I can't remember any of that exactly being in there. It's a little bit in one of the socially, but they're not clips. And most tragic, I will say we had plenty of possibilities for that one. It was hard to narrow it down. We ended up, again, going with nominations that had the best 2-minute example of it, but there were some clips. Okay, so for example, there's a clip called Gregory, there's a short comedic film that's available on YouTube called Gregory Go Boom that was recently created by Michael Cera. And this was somebody in the community nominated this. This film is like, if we had a worst in show category, it would have gone to this film. But because it was so awful, there was no 2-minute representation of it. So this is kind of the challenge we had in selecting the nominees, because sometimes they're just horrible throughout, but you can't exemplify it in that short way. But that film definitely exemplifies.
Give a little summary of it.
Oh God, yeah, because I don't want to encourage people to go out and watch it because it's so bad. So it's Gregory is in a wheelchair and he lives with his family who all resents him and hates him, and he's going out on all these dates and nobody wants to date him. And it's supposed to be dark comedy, but there's just nothing in it that you even laugh at, even if you would laugh at something that's offensive. But then all of a sudden the film ends, this 20-minute clip just ends with him lighting himself on fire. Like that, it's just, and this is dark comedy, so apparently they thought that was funny when they were developing it. And it's just horrible, horrible. And there's nothing in there that matches, it matches your classic portrayals that, like, if you have a disability in Hollywood, either you have to get cured, the Most Amazing Miracle category is all about that. Suddenly the blind can see, people can walk again, or you have to die off. You can't kind of have stories in between. And so, yeah, that's an example of a really bad one we didn't go with. There were a lot of nominations.
It sounds like.
And it was really a good reminder why we're doing this. That so many people that I got to read all the emails of the nominations, and people had these stories that went along with it. That, like, I saw. I won't say the examples, but I saw this clip when I was a child, and it really had an impact on me as a young child with a disability, because that's what I thought, oh, okay, that's what I'm supposed to be like, this, this fool that can't do the simplest thing, or that, ruins everything, or that is supposed to just want to die. It really has an impact. So people were excited about the opportunity to nominate it and get to laugh at it. And give it
are we going to see, since this is an international film festival, are we going to get a little taste of some red carpet and all that pizzazz?
Well, we have booked the red carpet, Ted. I'm glad you asked. There is and you're welcome to wear anything, but we fully encourage festive dress.
Yeah, pretend it's going to the Oscars, not that you don't, whatever, but just have fun. If you have that sequin thing that you found at the thrift store, or, whatever, or have a blast, I think people are going to just kind of have fun being whoever they are. And there'll be popcorn.
Yeah, I'll have to pull out that 70s tux with the ruffles on it.
There you go. That would be perfect.
So I know Christina's got a question. Christina, are you able, do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Oh my gosh, you guys are incredibly funny. You're cracking me up. People keep walking by my office wondering why I'm laughing. This is great. Thank you. So you answered my question about what I should wear to the event. Thank you for clarifying my sparkling pedazzle outfit. Can you tell us a little bit about other disability film festivals that happen in the U.S.?
Yeah.
Are you aware that any exist, or where are they, and what are they all about?
Yeah, that's great. So Superfest is the longest running disability film festival anywhere, and it sort of emerged from the community. There is one other film festival called Reelability, well, one other major one. There's also some other tinier ones, but there's Reelabilities, which comes out of New York and the Jewish Cultural Center, and they run a different model. They sort of develop they look at it's a jury film festival, and they look at the most recent films, and they have a group of people, and then they export it to different cities around the country as sort of a full film festival that comes out. And so there will be a Reelabilities coming to the Bay Area also, we've recently found out. And there's also a Sprout Film Festival that focuses on, I believe, films with the topic of developmental disabilities. There's Imagine, a short film festival in Santa Cruz. It's happening September 28th, this weekend. You can look that up online. They are a community supporter of Superfest, and they do all short pieces that were put together by people with cognitive disabilities. Those are the main ones we know of. I'm not sure if there are others that have emerged, but those are the bigger ones.
So I see here that you mentioned before that you're partnering with San Francisco Lighthouse for the Blind. Can you tell us a little bit about this partnership, how it started, where it sprang from, and how is that influencing the direction of Superfest?
What happened was, like I said, that Leanne Yasumoto, she was handing off Superfest. She was ready to, kind of pass the torch, and she was looking around before she, just said, I don't want to do this anymore. She was looking around for possible partners. So they approached me, knowing that I was at the San Francisco State, and it just started at the Longmore Institute. They also approached Brian Bashan at the Lighthouse. Well, actually, I was the one that suggested they approach the Lighthouse. There was just this side to me that I thought, something, why not have the Lighthouse be involved in film? I mean, and my reasoning was always, wow, this could be something so different for so many people. And I know blind people love the movie. Some do, some don't. But, I know a lot that do. And I've been to film festivals with audio description abroad and in the United States even. And I thought, this is really, really interesting. What would it look like if we actually were the people that ran it? And the dream ultimately is to really get people to think about filmmaking from the beginning as containing these accessible elements. And so if you have something like the Lighthouse for the Blind is one of the major sponsors, and it's clear that they're part of the jury process and all of that from the get-go, wouldn't it be, an influence on filmmakers or people that are submitting their films? It's not just that, oh, I make a film and then I put the accessible features on afterwards. What does it mean as a filmmaker to imagine the possibility of filmmaking that incorporates these elements and different elements of them into the filmmaking process from the beginning? And that's what, in a way, what putting this partnership together in such a bold, public way means. Part of it too is just that we've done a number of other projects with the San Francisco Lighthouse, and I've worked closely with Brian on a number of initiatives. So we thought, wow, what a cool way to do this, and to really, again, like with the pirates, to flip people's thinking. And so that's where that comes from, the partnership.
And do you, along those lines, do you foresee yourself bringing on other partners, or have you had conversations with other organizations as you're thinking down the line in the future and how this might grow?
Well, this year we solicited community supporters from other disability organizations who would help publicize Superfest and help reach out to their constituents so that people know about this, and we're grateful to have a long list of that. And if anybody's listening who didn't get reached out to, just be in touch. We'll give our contact info at the end. For a bit, we see ourselves as pretty closely tied to Lighthouse being the main organizers, and then just seeing if we'll be expanding from there. We want Superfest to remain really the grassroots disability film festival that really comes from the disability community. So we're open to possibilities and conversations with people who want to get involved, as well as individuals who want to participate, because as we said, this is just the first year, and we have plans for it to grow each year. It will be an annual festival.
But we also need, the other sort of big challenge for us is to fundraise for this, because we're doing, we're using a lot of resources at San Francisco State and volunteers and all of that, but eventually we need to be, reaching out and raising more funds to make this possible. The admission suggested donation at the door is helping us just do basic costs. We're not making any money on that. We, had to rent equipment, we had to rent the space, all sorts of hours of organization, all of that. So, eventually there, if any of you stumble across a lotto check or, anything like that, consider, Superfest as a, worthy cause. But that's, part of our process as well, is trying to do some fundraising for this.
And just so people know, tickets are $10, but no one will be turned away from inability to pay.
Yeah, we want everybody to be there. That's the main thing.
Sounds like we need to get some Hollywood folks involved, like these other film festivals, and then we could do a little bit of on-the-job or on-the-event training with them about disability culture.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, that's
and affect the way that they portray disabilities in film from the inside and relationally.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So what are some ways that folks, I know that the date's coming up really quick. What is the date again?
October 12th, Saturday.
October 12th. So it's coming up really quick, but thinking ahead to next year, what are some ways that people can get involved on a variety of different levels? And is there anything that they can do in the next couple of weeks to help promote this?
They can spread the word. We have a Facebook page. We have and a website where people can buy tickets online. If people are tied to are part of disability organizations where mailings haven't gone out yet, if you can help spread the word to your constituents. Because this is the first year that we've taken over, we really, really want to have the women's building filled to capacity. So any help possible at getting the word out there would be greatly appreciated. People can also get in touch. We have a good number of volunteers lined up already, so we're not necessarily looking for volunteers for this year's event. But if you're dying to be behind the scenes, get in touch and we'll work out some way to bring you in. There's a slide showing right now with our contact information. You can call the Longmore Institute phone number at 415-405-3528. That's 415-405-3528. And you can email us. Kathy's email is Kudlick, Kudlick, @sfsu.edu. And mine is Beitiks, Beitiks, @sfsu.edu. So don't hesitate to reach out to either of us if you have any ideas or thoughts or want to get involved for next year, because next year we will be having a larger day-long festival, and we'll have a film jury and people to sort out who's going to get picked, and we'll need a lot of volunteers to help sort through. So there'll be a lot more opportunities for getting involved earlier on for next year.
I'm going to do a quick check-in on the teleconference line to see if anyone has questions, and then Christina has her hand raised, and we'll go to Christina. So for those folks who joined us on the teleconference line, do you have any questions? And you can unmute your phone by pressing *6 to ask your question. Any questions out there from the teleconference line? Christina, did you have a question?
I actually just wanted to do a little promo for Kathy and Emily. If you want to look and find the flyer online or join the event on Facebook, if you go to Superfest International Disability Film Festival, you'll see it. And it gives the event information as well as the location and the cost of the tickets and where you can purchase them. So that is one place that you could find it, but also, although they didn't say it, I will do the plug for them. They also have a Longmore Institute Facebook page that you can like and get up-to-date information on different activities and events that they're putting on. And Yo Disabled and Proud has been very fortunate to work with these gals at the Longmore Institute for over a year now, and we're really looking forward to also working with them in 2014 to do a series of disability history topic webinars. So we just want to thank them so much for continuing to support disability history at the California Foundation for Independent Living Centers, and especially in empowering and educating youth with disabilities in the Yo Disabled and Proud program. Thank you.
So I'm going to wrap us up with a final question, and then we're going to go to the closing of the webinar. And Christina talked a lot for a moment there about disability history. I know that's a lot of the work that you do, and we have this film festival and stuff like that. So in the future, do you see a fusion between the disability history work and the film festival? Is there a history category there, maybe, of films in the future? I'm thinking of a lot of older films that do have those portrayals of people with disabilities that you talked about earlier.
When we accepted nominations, we accepted them with no restriction on how recent they were or how old they were. So we have even a silent film and plenty that go way back, but were kind of iconic. But certainly, it's a possibility that we would do a classics disability film festival. I mean, it would be kind of depressing. And I think that the goal is that, this year we're doing this look back at the negative in order to make fun of it. But, a lot of people have asked, well, why not focus on the positive and all the good films that are out there? And that's fully our intention for future festivals, including 2014.
Cool. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and we always are planning to have programming that goes along with the disability film festivals as well, that pairs some of the incredible scholarship that's been done in film studies on disability, and a lot of that includes sort of this disability. So lots of possibilities moving forward to see those two things combined.
Yeah, I know that after today's webinar, I will never think of Peter Pan or Captain Hook the same way. Now that I've seen the action figures, and I'm just thinking right now of all of those naturalist literature movement stories that were made into movies in the 30s and 40s, and some of the characters in there and the disabilities displayed. So it really opens your mind to things that were sitting there right in front of you your whole life that you really never paid attention to. And that's what's so exciting about things like this and things like Superfest, is that as much as we concentrate on independent living and anti-stigma, it's great that we have fun, exciting things like this film festival that open our minds even more to things that are just right there in front of us all the time. Well, thank you, Kathy, and thank you, Emily. Did you want to say some final words there, Kathy?
No, thank you. I just wanted to say that it's all fun and it's all great, but it's not just, you got to think of it as a really essential part of the political mission, to think about ways that culture can be channeled into changing attitudes, because that does really important work, and I think our community really needs to think more about culture as this force for change that's at all levels.
That's exactly right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I can't wait to come to the film festival, and now we're just going to go through a couple things in closing today. I'd like to thank our hosts, DOnetwork and Yo Disabled and Proud, and on this next slide we do have the images of the logos for both of those organizations. Don't forget to check us out on the web and our social media. The Do Network can be accessed on the web at disabilityorganizing.net. Our Facebook page is DOnetwork.org. Do a search for that and you'll find us. And our Twitter name is @DoNetwork.org. And then for Yo Disabled and Proud, they're at yodisabledproud.org. There's no ands between the disabled and proud, just yodisabledproud.org. On Facebook, they're Yo with an exclamation point, disabled and proud. And at Twitter, they're at Yo exclamation point, disabled and proud. And on this slide here, I see that we do have a typo. I do apologize. I put in a T instead of a Y. So it's at Yo exclamation point, disabled and proud, where you can find Yo on Twitter. And don't forget that we do have a training library. Our archived webinars do take about 7 to 10 days, business days, to get up onto our training webinar, but the link is on here. Just go to disabilityorganizing.net/training-library.php. And we really want to get better at doing these webinars. So after this webinar, please take a moment to take the survey that will pop up. We talked about it at the beginning, and I hope that you'll just take a couple of moments to take the survey. This is all part of helping us get better at what we do and serving the community better. Well, thank you very much, folks. It's been a pleasure to have all of us together talking about all of these issues and about Superfest and the Film Festival today. Please keep an eye out for future webinars, and have a great day.